was, we did find a violation, and that was for timeliness, is that correct?
For the video recordings.
For the video recordings. And so we found that violation, it was 25A, I believe. And we all agreed with that, and then we brought it back to here.
This is the first time.
Right, so we're bringing it back here, and I don't know why.
This is the first time. This is the committee hearing the recommendation of the planning committee.
Oh, okay, so we're not, sorry about that, Mr. Garza. So, I'm starting fresh. Yeah, this was, I remember now, okay, I see what we're doing, sorry about that. So I remember this case, and Mr. Garza persuasively, presented this case to us, and clearly there was a violation in terms of timing. And I vaguely remember that who was the respondent? Who was physically here? That should be on here, right? Nancy, was it Nancy Soraya? Agreed with us that it was late, and we discussed it and said that, well, we're still going to find a violation, and let's bring it to this committee and follow through with that, whether it means that we just note it and move on, or that we bring them in for more education. I think they've been up in front of us.
I think that the department acknowledged that the review of the video recording is a timely process, and it's not possible to complete that within a 10-day period. They have developed some new procedures in developing a new request form for video recordings, which requires the requester to provide an exact time, location of the recording requested. I believe that this recording was reviewed with many hours, as in 3 or 4 days worth of video recording, where somebody had to view it and look for the specific person in question, and that's why they did not complete it within a 10-day time limit.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this was a little bit of a catch-22, because it's the, I don't know what's it called, the law of unintended consequences, where you set this rule and you say you've got 10 days to do it, but it, could have taken up all the 10 days just to do this. It just was physically just not feasible for it to occur. So but they were late, and the rule is the rule.
Right, and so were they in contact with Mr. Garza about the fact that this was going to take them a long time?
I believe you reviewed my...
Yeah, there's a whole list right here, the requests, and then 2 days later they requested, so the 22nd was the request, 2 days later they requested an extension of time.
I see that. Yeah, I see that there. Okay.
And so it was on the 20th. And, you gotta remember 12/22, not to take anything away from Mr. Garza's request, but it's the end of the year. There's all kinds of things closing out. There's holidays. It's difficult, and I believe we did sort of discuss that maybe it's a little incumbent upon the requesters in the future to give more of a narrower scope, because that kept coming up, that this was just so broad.
To pinpoint the time afterwards.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Member Wolf?
So the violation essentially was that they gave an extension, but then they weren't able to meet the time that they extended and were late. Am I understanding that correctly, Member Fisher?
They were late, and then they were late, yeah, because it was, the extension was until January 5th, but then it wasn't provided until January 20th.
They were late twice, basically.
Yeah, they were late twice.
But if
They were late, and then they were late with the late.
If they had maintained to say, if they had said in a letter saying they couldn't meet that deadline and had to extend it again, that wouldn't have been a violation, but they didn't send that letter?
I don't think there's a provision for additional extension.
Yeah, there's no more.
So so it's the responsibility of the agency to request the proper amount of extension, and then if they misjudge it, then it becomes a violation.
The maximum extension allowed is 10 days.
And in the past, I mean, when it happens that you...
10 business days.
10 business days.
Depending on which vote, I believe one states 14 days and the other says 10 business days.
And just, anecdotally, not going to cite any specific cases here, but in the past, we have had people who said, well, we're going to be late. It's a violation or not. And then sometimes the complainant says, all right, you're going to be 5 more days, but I just want the information. Just get it to me, and everybody goes away somewhat happy. And then some,
maybe we should allow the thing to...
Well, wait, can't we just have someone make a motion to accept the committee's recommendation, and then we're not even hearing the case because we've already heard the case?
Yeah, that's our procedure for this.
I make a
So-
motion to accept the committee's recommendation.
I second that motion.
Discussion.
Public comment?
Is there any public comment?
Discussion.
Okay, Member Pilpal.
There's a third member of the public present. Is there a representative from DPH here?
Is there a representative from DPH? There is not at this time.
So-
They were not required to attend this meeting pursuant to my, pursuant to the complaint.
Okay, I'm gonna have, I think at the end of the day, I get to the recommendation. I just had a couple of questions for DPH, and since they're not here, I can't ask them, so I may have to move to continue. I think that we're giving departments bad advice by saying departments or respondents are invited but not required. Under the ordinance 21E, a department representative shall attend any hearing on the matter. This is, although it's a recommendation from the committee, it's actually a bit of a hearing on the matter, and I'm troubled that there's nobody here from DPH. And I don't think we should be telling them, you don't have to show. I think we can say there's
We have set up
recommendations.
this procedure, pursuant to our procedure, that if you do wish to continue this to a future meeting, you can do that, but this is just a review of the complaint committee's recommendation and not a hearing of both parties at this time.
I understand, and I'm not needing a full hearing. I just wanted to have a couple of back and forths with DPH to clarify some of these things, because I'm not sure that, I think, again, that I end up with the recommendation, but perhaps on a slightly different basis.
Where's my due process?
Through the chair, can I address
Yes.
Member Pilpel?
Member
Yes,
Fisher?
go ahead.
You're kind of defeating the whole purpose then of the complaint committee and of
Should have never gone there.
of what we've done. I mean, the point of this was to hear these items and then make the recommendation to the full committee. And I get it. I mean, there are times when sometimes, well, you want to hear what the respondent has to say, but if we did that every time, then we're doubling our work.
It should have
So,
never gone to the
and,
complaint
you know,
committee.
sometimes it works out great and sometimes it doesn't, so.
Member Wall.
Yeah, I'm concerned that we're entering, like, what's essentially a de novo review, that we're in danger of doing this twice, and at the point that we start asking city representatives that they need to be here twice, they might as well skip the complaint committee process altogether, because we're just doing this twice for, as I see, no good reason.
Member Pilpel, and then we have to move on.
So, since they're not here, I mean, I can ask publicly what my questions were, and if, you know, you guys have answers, that would be cool. I don't have a problem with that. So, I guess my first concern is if the request was made and received on December 22nd, it seemed to me that it was, that a December 24th response was initially untimely. So that's where I get to the untimeliness and a 25A violation. There was an extension requested, and then there was additional time needed. I'm not personally finding that the additional time needed to pull the video and review it and copy it and all of that was necessarily a timeliness violation, because I think they were doing their diligence, and in fact they provided lots of paperwork showing that they were trying to get the guy, somebody was on vacation, they called the contractor, they couldn't identify Mr. Garza, they were doing all those things, and I think doing them diligently. The other two things that bothered me, in our packet, page 277, there's a document that's an email. I don't know which side provided it, but either the top section is all blanked out, so either it was redacted or printed out in some way that I can't tell who was sent from or to and when. That bothered me, and I kind of
It's
wanted...
from Nancy Soraya.
On page 277?
Yeah. It's in the footer. We don't know who it was sent to, but we know who it's from.
This,
It's in the footer. It says right there, Nancy Soraya.
sorry, on 277?
277. You've got the from, sent to, but then there's a footer
Right, yes,
at
I
the bottom.
understand.
Yeah.
But I don't know who was printing.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right, so that just seemed weird to me. I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world, but it seemed odd. And finally, in the department's responses to Mr. Garza, most, if not all of them, were just signed public information office and they came from public records. I just have this view that you can send something to a generic email address like public records, X department of the city, but when you get a response back, you should know who sent it. It should say, you know, from Nancy Soraya, blah, blah, blah. Not just it came from some vague amorphous place, but it actually came from some person. That doesn't seem unreasonable to me. I don't think that that's a violation, but I wanted to raise that. And I'm sorry, finally, in their delayed response on January 20th, they indicated that Mr. Garza's medical records, if they are any, are medical records and subject to all the medical record stuff. That boilerplate, I think, could have been provided either on December 24th or on January 5th. That seemed like it was unnecessarily delayed and it wasn't actually producing records. It was simply recapping their understanding of medical records stuff. So that also seemed delayed to me and was another basis for the 25A violation. So those are the things I wanted to talk to them about, but hey, they're not here.
Yeah.
Can I get due process and say what I want to say since they're not here? I mean, shouldn't I have my ability to say something? He wanted to ask questions, shouldn't I give my input? Because I have several items that don't correspond because, for
Okay, so Mr. Garza, since you are here, you have 5 minutes.
wonderful, thank you.
Pardon me?
3 minutes is fine. 3 minutes is fine. I'm not trying to get over. If you guys all turn to page 246 and you read the very last thing that says, "Hello, Eric," he'll say he viewed Mr. Garza's videotape visits on YouTube and he announces the time he arrives at SFGH and is denied services. You know, for them to come out and say, "Oh, we can't find this, we need more time," their person is telling them right there, because I'd notified them that I had YouTube videos of the failures, to go and check on the YouTube video. It clearly states the time I was there. So they needed all this time to review, 24 hours worth of tape when the time is right there in front of them. Amazing. Simply amazing. Another thing I want to bring forward is that, on 2/17 when they asked for all this and I went back and everything, on 2/18 I was denied into the building, having called civil standby so that I could go talk to the PIO officer, because when I picked up all the stuff, I believe it was during the March compliance hearing, which I don't understand why I have a compliance or committee hearing. It should go straight to Sunshine as it's ruled, but this is simply another diversion, but we'll skip that for now. When I went to go in March, when we were here, I told Mr. Young, and he's even noted it, that I wasn't able to play the video, so I wanted to go back to the PIO officer at the Department of Public Health and say, "It didn't work for me. The stuff that you gave me did not work for me." Well, interestingly enough, when I went on 2/24, and I'm saying this specifically to Mr. Wolf, I was arrested. He was concerned about me being arrested when I was seeking medical records at San Francisco General. Well, I was arrested following up with the PIO officer and seeking an appointment for my medical treatment at the Department of Public Health because the records wouldn't play. I wanted it on a different format, but I was arrested. The Department of Public Health has constantly, the boilerplate that Mr. Pipel was talking about as far as, medical records are not public records. That's their boilerplate. It's a lie. Each and every time you've ruled that medical records are mine and they are public and I can get them. That precedent's never been set, so I'm sure that till the day we die, the Department of Public Health is going to use its boilerplates because, as I've said many times, this is the Ministry of Sunshine. It's here to obscure, to not look at all the facts. There's many other things. The most distressing is that I was arrested, seeking to follow up. Those videos are on YouTube too. Isn't it amazing how none of these people could look at the videos on YouTube to know what time I went there? But yet they could use the excuse, "Oh, we can't look into all of this because it's too time consuming, blah, 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 blah." Well, another interesting part is that they claim that it's a HIPAA violation for me to video record, and when these tapes were produced, they had video recorded everybody. I guess it's a HIPAA violation, and we need to get the sheriff to go arrest the hospital who just videotaped everybody, because I was told by the sheriff and the Department of Public Health that I was violating HIPAA by recording my own receipt of my medical care. So, it's all rigged.